Well, well, well. After all their protestations that loot boxes weren't gambling and their decision to fight on against the Belgium authorities, it seems that EA have finally been forced to face the music. Because after several months and a lot of toing and froing, EA have finally caved. And they are now going to be removing FIFA points from FIFA in Belgium. What this means basically is that Ultimate Team's going to still be there, but you're not going to be able to buy the loot boxes, the player packs as I think they call them. And so we're going to see now what happens with Ultimate Team when people can't buy players. I think this is extremely interesting because all those people who say that games aren't affected by loot boxes being in them will have a ready opportunity to look and see what happens in Belgium. Because for my money, loot boxes do affect gameplay. And I actually made a video, and I've talked about this several times, saying that FIFA has been damaged by the inclusion of Ultimate Team and the fact that EA have taken their eye off the ball and that they have not been actively developing all elements of the team because they've been focusing so much on the monetary element, on the cash cow, the section of the game that brings them in $800 million in revenue a year. Although they protest that, the game is still financially viable for them without Ultimate Team. And I would say that that's probably the case because FIFA will still sell extremely well even without Ultimate Team in it. It's still, or it used to be, a very good football game. The trouble is that it's not really moved on for years because, well, as I say, they've been focusing in on Ultimate Team and the money that it can make them. Now, I have to say the 800 million isn't just for FIFA, but FIFA accounts for the biggest slice of the pie. So anyway, how's this going down? Well, first things first, let's have a tiny little bit of history and recap what happened. And look, loot boxes have been in FIFA and many other games for some years now, but this all really came to a head with Battlefront 2. And then certain authorities around the world started looking into it. And I'm not going to go into a great deal of detail about that here because there are other videos out there talking about it, and I've made videos talking about it in the past. But basically, last year, the Belgian authorities and the authorities in the Netherlands as well started to look very closely at certain games, and one of those games was FIFA because EA, being arrogant as they seem to be, had decided that Battlefront 2 was going to have these loot boxes and they were going to foist them on us, and so it caused the gaming community to rise up and, well, basically get very annoyed about it, and it brought it to the attention of the authorities. Now, maybe the authorities were already starting to look into this behind the scenes. I don't know. I wouldn't be at all surprised that they were looking into it in some way, shape or form, but this brought it to a head. And then subsequently, the Belgian authorities told EA that they had to remove loot boxes from FIFA. However, EA refused. They refused to comply. And so we ended up in a situation where the Belgian authorities were in effect threatening to take them to court. And I think, if I remember rightly, now you can correct me on this if I'm wrong, but I think EA were looking to make a counterclaim or something like that. They were certainly fighting it. They weren't going to remove the player packs. And I made a video at the time saying that if EA won this, it was going to open the floodgates. But it seems that finally EA have realised that this is a loser for them, and they've fallen in line with the other companies that have decided to remove their own loot boxes in Belgium. And they've issued a statement, and this is the statement. I'm going to read it in full because I think it's quite enlightening and tells us a lot, especially if you listen very carefully to what they're saying. And this is what they say. After further discussions with the Belgian authorities, discussions, yeah, discussions, we have decided to stop offering FIFA points for sale in Belgium. They've decided. They weren't forced, of course. They've decided. It's a unilateral decision on their part. We're working to make these changes effective in our FIFA console and PC games by January 31st, 2019. This means that players in Belgium will not be able to purchase points to obtain FIFA Ultimate Team packs. Players still can access Ultimate Team and play with their existing players. All content in the game can be earned through gameplay, as has always been the case. Yeah, if you're prepared to grind for years. And players can continue to use coins and the in-game transfer market. Any players in Belgium that have existing FIFA points in their accounts can continue to use them. Oh, isn't that nice of them? I'd like to see them try and stop people using them. But they will not be able to purchase more. We apologise to our players in Belgium for any inconvenience caused by this change. The only people this is really inconveniencing is EA themselves, because they're no longer able to fleece players with this system. But they go on anyway. We seek to bring choice, fairness, value and fun to our players in all our games. I'm sure they do. In addition to providing players options in how they play, we include pack probabilities in our games for the transparency players want to make informed content choices. Oh, lovely. It's like the little card game, isn't it? You move the cards around. It's a con. Anybody who plays it knows it's a con, but they still keep playing. And this is what happens when you get sucked into something where you're putting money down and you keep wanting to play because you keep wanting to get a better outcome. While we are taking this action, we do not agree with Belgium authorities' interpretation of the law. The Belgium authorities' interpretation of the law, because they're not the people who wrote the law, are they? And we will continue to seek more clarity on the matter as we go forward. The impact of this change to FIFA Ultimate Team in Belgium is not material to our financial performance. So that begs the question, if it's not material to your financial performance, why are you including it in the game in the first place? Why not just have team packs that don't require you to spend money? Hold on a minute, let me think. $800 million per annum doesn't affect their financial performance. Of course it affects their financial performance. It's been affecting their financial performance for years now. Without it, they will lose money and they will lose the ability to grow because they've pinned all their hopes on Ultimate Team and methodologies like it. EA have become little more than a gambling company now, and they're going to have a major rethink, which is what I've said in previous videos, and I'm not the only one saying this. They're going to have a major rethink if they want to continue competing in the market. Because if this moves forward and we find other authorities doing the same thing, EA are going to have the writing on the wall for them. Their financial model doesn't stack up anymore. Not the way I see it anyway, and I'm no finance expert. But if you have pinned all your hopes on a certain business model and that business model no longer functions, you're going to have to move quickly. Because this is not going to stand for EA if, as I say, other authorities start looking into this in more detail and they follow suit with Belgium. It'll be good for gamers, but it isn't going to be good for EA. I just hope that EA do move quickly. They do have a rethink. And they do start thinking about the idea of actually producing quality games and not focusing on the money before they even start the development process. Because at the moment, that's how it seems to be. It's, as a friend of mine used to put it, arse about face. They need to think about the game first, make a good game, and then try and sell us a good game. And we will buy it. We as gamers, we want good games. We want to play good games. If EA go back to being what they used to be, and let's be honest here, EA used to be a sign of quality many years ago. If they go back to that, and they put out good games, and they come up with fair financial models, no one's going to complain about that. What people don't want is to be fleeced. And increasingly, EA over the last few years, about a decade now, seem to be more interested in fleecing their customers. And as Jim Sterling has said repeatedly, it is not a sustainable model. It simply isn't. And surprisingly enough, I agree with him. But anyway, that's what I think. You guys might have a totally different opinion, and I know some of you out there do have a completely different opinion to me on this one. And if you do, let me know. You know, I'm not going to get all shouty with you because you disagree with me. Surprise, surprise. This is a channel that encourages people to come and talk to me. As long as you're respectful and don't start off by swearing at me, then yeah, we can have a chat. And yeah, try and hammer it out. But in the meantime, I'm going to go and get myself a cup of tea, and I'll speak to you in the next one. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the like and share and all the usual nonsense. Anyway, that's me done. Bye.